Today we celebrate the answer to all the world's woes, the Eucharist. One could say, looking at Adam and Eve's story, that all of humanity's troubles started with a bad meal. To undo the evil and disobedience of this bad meal, Christ would offer us himself at the Last Supper, and command us to offer him repeatedly at each Mass. So practically, what do we need to know and do about the Eucharist? First, we need to prepare for the Eucharist. Anytime we serve an important guest a fine meal, we double-check the dinnerware to make sure it is clean. It would be rude to serve someone a fine meal on dirty or spotted dinnerware. And yet, how many times have we been an unworthy vessel of Holy Communion? Whether through mortal sin, ignorance of what the Eucharist is, or unsettled because we didn't pray first. This is why we arrive early to Mass to pray, fast for 1 hour, and confess any mortal sins before communion. Second, we need to be able to proclaim why the Eucharist is necessary for life. Here's a quick rundown. We use the elements of bread and wine because it dates back to the time of Abraham some 4,000 years ago. In Genesis chapter 14, we find the priest Melchizedek making a thanksgiving offering to God on behalf of Abraham, using the elements of bread and wine. The same elements were used in the Jewish Passover meal and by Jesus at the Last Supper. The process by which bread and wine turn into Jesus' body and blood is what we call Transubstantiation. It means a change in substance. It is easiest to think of every material object as having both an appearance and a reality. We are saying that the appearance of the bread and wine, including taste, texture, and color, stay the same, while the substance or reality of bread and wine become Jesus. In nature, appearance and reality do not always line up. For instance, stick a straw into a glass of water, and the straw appears to bend because the light refracts differently in water than in air. Look at the night sky, and stars appear to be shining, when in fact we are looking at history as they reside light years away, and perhaps the star has died out already. We also say that the Eucharist is a sacred meal that gathers us, a re-presentation of Jesus' sacrifice on Calvary, and it is Jesus' body, blood, soul, and divinity, or his totality. Third, we need to practice our faith in the Eucharist. The night before Jesus died, he said, "Do this in memory of me." Do what? Celebrate the Mass and his resurrection each Sunday. Consecrate the Eucharist, consume the Eucharist, and adore the Eucharist. If you are an Italian in blood or at heart, then you understand that a meal is great, but fellowship is also important. Mass is like the meal, while adoration of the Blessed Sacrament is like the fellowship. Adoration is sitting before the Eucharist in prayer, and the word literally means mouth to mouth with God. In adoration, we are emptying ourselves of self and filling ourselves with God. Lastly, we must process with the Eucharist. Eucharistic processions take Jesus to a world that cannot or will not go to him. The Lord wants us to continue his mission. Jesus said at his ascension, "You will be my witnesses to the ends of the world." This is the point of the Mass, which comes from the Latin word missa, meaning the sending. We carry Jesus out in our bodies each week and do virtuous acts. But in a special way, each Corpus Christi Sunday, we physically carry our Eucharistic Lord to our neighborhoods. It is literally a parade of souls, proclaiming their love for Jesus and the fact that he is the solution to the effects of a bad meal that we feel today. For St. John Paul II declared, "There is no solution to the social question apart from the gospel." Help me bring the solution to our neighbors and friends by walking with me this Sunday. Why do we need to renew our faith and fiery passion for the Eucharist and share it with others? Because Venerable Archbishop Fulton Sheen said that the only question Jesus may ask us when we die is, "Who did you tell about me?"